Hi again. Let's continue our discussion about economic models. In part 1, I already shared about two general methods that have been used for verifying economic models. First is direct approach and second is indirect approach. You know that the model of a firm, usually we use the profit maximization model. And we know that firm is seeking to maximize profit. And this is a simplification of reality. By maximizing the profit model, it ignores the personal motivation of a firm, of a firm's manager, of a firm CAO, and does not consider conflicts among them. It assumes that profits are the only relevant goal of a firm or other possible goals such as obtaining power or prestige, and they are treated as unimportant. The model also assumes that a firm has sufficient information about its costs and the nature of the market to which it sells to discover what its profit maximizing options actually are. So most real-world firms, of course, do not have this information readily available, particularly in this pandemic era. No model can describe reality exactly. So it raises up the real question whether this simple model has any claim to being a good one. So we need to make a kind of test on the assumption that we made. For example, a test of the model of a profit that maximizing firm investigates its basic assumption. Do firm really seek maximum profit? So based on this, we know the equation that you can see on your slide that I already sent you through LMS, that the equation of F is identified by the multiplication of price times quantity minus cost. So by using that equation, we test a prediction. Some economists, most notably Milton Friedman, deny that a model can be tested by inquiring into the reality of its assumption. Let's say in his book, he argued the statement in his book, Essays in Positive Economics. The only way to determine the validity of a model is to see whether it is capable of explaining and predicting real-world events. So the ultimate test of an economic model comes when it is confronted with data from the economy itself. And then many economic models start from the assumption that the economic actors being studied are rationally pursuing some goals. So this what makes optimization assumption sounds correct. Let's say firms maximizing profits, consumers maximizing their own well-being. In this case, let's say a utility, firm minimizing costs, and government regulators attempting to maximize public welfare. So all of these assumptions are somewhat controversial, but there seem to be two reasons to be accepted. First, the optimization assumptions are very useful for generating precise and solvable models. Second, optimization models seem to be fairly good at explaining reality. Let's see. In economic models, there are general features. First is the ceteris paribus assumption and positive normative distinction. As is the case in most sciences, models used in economics attempt to portray relatively simple relationships. It assumes other variables that are not being observed are assumed to be unchanged during the period of study. Such ceteris paribus, other things equal assumption, are used in all economic modeling. Second general features of economic model is positive normative distinction. A final feature of most economic models is the attempt to differentiate, to separate carefully between positive and normative question. Let's say positive economic seeks to determine how resources are in fact allocated in an economy. As the opposite, a normative economics says that how resources should be allocated. So despite the variety, however, practically all economic models incorporate three common elements. First, the ceteris paribus, other things the same assumption. Second, the supposition that economic decision makers seek to optimize something, whatever they're pursuing, their goal pursuing. And third, a careful distinction between positive and normative question. So next, development the economic theory of value. The development of economic theory of value began with the phenomena that economic were treated as a basic aspect of human behavior. It is indeed study about human behavior to fulfill their basic needs. And then the early economic thought says that the theory of value, not surprisingly, concerned the determinant of the value of a commodity. It is the center of modern economic theory and closely intertwined with the fundamental economic problem of allocating scarce resources to alternative uses. And then, for the most part, economic phenomenon were treated as a basic aspect of human behavior that was not sufficiently interesting to deserve specific attention. We should admit that. And then the founding of modern economic is begun during the part of the 18th century that indicated philosophers began to take a more scientific approach to economic question. And then the publication of The Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith in 1723 and 1790, in the eventful year of 1776, is generally considered the beginning of a modern economics. In this era, value and price is treated as a different. Value of commodity means value in use, whereas the price represented its value in exchange. So that is the different between value and price in Adam Smith theory. And then there was labor theory of exchange value, which concerns about water-diamond paradox. So this will be your next assignment. You should know deeper about water-diamond paradox. What is water-diamond paradox? Before I explain it in a next video. And next, the development of economic theory of value comes to marginalist revolution. During the 1870s, several economists discovered that it is not the total usefulness of a commodity that helps to determine its exchange value, but rather the usefulness of the last unit consumed. Please highlight this, that the usefulness of the last unit consumed. So economists become increasingly aware that the construct inadequate alternative to the labor theory of value, they had to come to devise a theory of value in use. And after that, we come to the Marshallian supply-demand synthesis. Marshall showed the world that demand and supply simultaneously operate to determine price. And then, based on the Marshallian supply-demand synthesis, the water-diamond paradox is resolved. And then after Marshallian supply-demand synthesis, there was general equilibrium model that developed by Leon Walras in 1830. And he was born in 1830, and then he died 1910. He said that he has a method of presenting the economy by a large number of simultaneously equation forms, the basis for understanding the interrelationship implicit in general equilibrium analysis. And then besides that, we also have production possibility frontier in economic concept to show us the various amounts of two goods that an economy can produce using its available resources during same period. So research activity in economics expanded rapidly. And it was really expanded rapidly in the years following World War II. Step one of this expansion is the mathematical foundation of economic models. And then there was new tools for studying market. And then there also the economic of uncertainty and information. And recently we have computers and empirical analysis to help us in making economic models. So class, this is part 2 of economic models. And we would like to have some discussion in the next meeting. So please read your reading materials and ask me a question through our channel or our LMS. Thank you for watching this video and happy learning.